Colonials fans, welcome back to another installment of GWTV's Unstoppable, a sports recap show where we get you in the know on all things GW sports. My name is Cole Anchewski and I'm your anchor. Alongside me is my co-anchor, the one and only Sean Grant. Sean, there's been a lot that has happened in GW sports in the last month. What do we have in store for today's episode?
Well, Cole, first we're going to break down the recent hot streaks for both men's and women's basketball, the postseason success for men's and women's swimming and diving, and the recent outings for women's gymnastics. After that, we'll give you a rundown of some of your favorite GW sports teams, and I'll get the chance to sit down with the acting athletics director, Tanya Vogel. To wrap things up, the man who makes this show possible, our own executive producer, Andy Weber, will join us here at the desk to tell you what competitions you just can't miss. All of this on Unstoppable.
Right wing, good. Dively leaking out.
With only 3 regular season games left for the Colonials, GW has been riding momentum in the hot hand. They dominated bitter rival VCU, winning 80-56 in the most complete game that GW has played all season. The Colonials followed up this game with another impressive performance, blowing out the Richmond Spiders 103-77 to cap off a 3-game win streak. The most noteworthy statistics from these 2 games came from the offensive side of the ball. Against VCU and Richmond, the Colonials shot 54.5% and 71.4% from the three-point line, respectively. Sean, it's not hard to win with this kind of offensive efficiency. What has contributed to this high point volume?
Well, you know, Cole, I think the first thing you've got to look at is you've got to go back to when Coach Maurice Joseph benched Jair Bolden in place of Justin Mazzulla. After they put Mazzulla in and he was starting, the ball movement has improved so much for GW, and now you've got guys that are, looking for their spots on the floor. You've got Mazzulla, who's not necessarily racking up a ton of assists. Now, he had one game where he had 10 assists, but, some of his impact might not show up on the stat sheet, and he's really a guy who starts the offense. He's a guy that runs those plays that Coach Maurice Joseph implements into the offense. And, when you have that, things just flow a lot more smoothly because you have a guy out there who's looking to pass before he's looking to shoot, and, that really encourages selfless basketball.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed in our live coverage is that he's just a play initiator. The offense just seems to run so much more smoothly when he's on the court, and additionally, his unselfish play has kind of trickled down into other players. Terry Nolan Jr. in that game against Richmond put up 7 assists as well. So all teammates have now kind of taken the onus upon themselves to find players in the right spots, find Yuta in the corners, find Steves and Arnaldo Toro in the block. So overall, it's just running much more effectively.
Well, and I think that point you mentioned, Cole, is very important, that they're finding their spots on the floor. You no longer have guys just pulling up and taking contested mid-range jumpers. Instead, you have, Yuta's going to go to the corner, or he can slash and get into the paint. You've got Toro, you've got Steves, you've got a lot of other guys. You have Terry Nolan Jr., who has always been an efficient shooter, and, now you've got him finding his spots on the floor. Again, guys aren't forcing up shots. They're looking for where they're most comfortable on the court, and then you've got a guy like Mazzulla who, in that last game with those 10 assists, he's finding them wherever they are, and clearly it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. And now with this success in the last 3 games, for that matter, all eyes are on the A10 tournament. I think it's going to be very impressive to see how they perform. They've been on this hot streak, but we don't know if it's going to translate into conference play against these big names like URI, Dayton, Davidson. So it's going to be interesting to see that.
Well, and Cole, I think something that they really need to figure out if they want to have some success in the A10 tournament is they need to get a consistent defensive scheme, right? They play several different schemes during the course of a game. They'll play some zone, they'll play some man-to-man. It kind of varies based on the lineup that they're seeing from the opposing team. I just think they need to go with something that works and stay with that. You need some consistency in your defensive game plan if you want your other players to feel even more comfortable on the offensive side of the ball. If you have that, then I don't think this offense will slow down because those players will be so comfortable in what they're doing. But they need to find something more consistent, I think.
Yeah, and I think the defensive spark plug has to come from Bo Ziegler. I've seen it consistently throughout games. Whenever he's in the game, he's such a presence down low, and he's so athletic, he's lanky, he gets blocks, and he can run in transition. So him just being on the court gives GW defense a little aspect that normally isn't out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how he comes off the bench and is an extremely effective player.
Right, and I think another thing that we do need to talk about is the rebounding of this team. It's something that we've harped on since the beginning. It's something that they need to focus on, especially as a smaller team. You know, they need to figure out ways to get more creative even in crashing the glass. Their defensive rebounding has improved over the course of the season, and you know, in these last few games, we've really seen them come out pretty strong, and they've even held the rebounding advantage over their opponent, you know, several times. But what I think that they need to do more of is they've been scrappy. We've talked about how they've been scrappier, but they need to be even more scrappy in the A10 tournament, and they need to get every single 50-50 ball. I don't want to see a player standing around and watching a ball go out of bounds or seeing another player go and grab it. They need to win every 50-50 ball. Again, being a smaller team, that's what they need to do if they want to get those more possessions and cut off the other team's offensive production as well. And
they did that against VCU. Terry Nolan Jr. had 5 steals in that game. So that's just a testament to his scrappiness and kind of how he's been playing. So yeah, I agree. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how they kind of piece it together. And if there's one thing that we've learned, 3-point shooting, a hot hand, and riding momentum can lead to tournament success.
Right. Well, swinging things over to women's basketball now, where the Lady Colonials have replicated the success of their male counterparts. Over their 3-game win streak, defense has been the main focus as they held opponents to 49 points, 58 points, and 46 points respectively. The women also got strong contributions from freshman Nila Luma, who was named the A10 Co-Rookie of the Week for her recent efforts. The team's offensive production does leave something to be desired, and they'll need to figure out more efficient ways to score once the A10 tournament starts. This team is chock full of veteran leadership, however, and I expect them to put it all together once the tournament commences. Now we're going to kick it over to Unstoppable's own Parker Jensen as he got the chance to catch up with senior forward Kelly Prange. Parker?
Thanks, Sean. Today I got the chance to interview senior forward Kelly Prange and talk to her about her mentality going to the A10 championships and how she plans on leading this team. With the middle-of-the-road record in the A10s, receiving a bid to the NIT would mean winning the A10 championships. So how's your team preparing themselves going into this and into the final game and into the postseason?
I definitely think that we have a day-to-day mentality. I mean, we take practices very seriously, and I think that going into each practice, we're preparing for the next games. A day-to-day mentality is going to prepare us for the A10 tournament, hopefully knocking some big teams off, Duquesne, Dayton, to get that NCAA bid or to go into the WNIT.
Now, we've seen you play well throughout the season. You're one of the team's go-to players, both for points and for leadership on the court. So as a senior leader of this team, how are you preparing yourself?
I definitely think that it helps to have that day-to-day mentality. Us seniors are just like, it's our last season, you know, and we want to give it our all. And I think that we need to more so drill that into our underclassmen.
Well, speaking of the underclassmen, we have plenty of young talent on this team, such as Nila Luma,
yes,
who just recently won the A10 Co-Rookie of the Week award. So how are you guiding these talented freshmen to compete in the A10 championships?
Yeah, I definitely have the opportunity to work with Nila during practice, during games, and she is an amazing player, and I just saw so much in her that really opened my eyes. I definitely think that underclassmen need to play a huge part in our success. I think that the seniors need to take under our belts accountability, work ethic, anything you could think of just to take it to the next step.
Well, finally, this is your final A10 championship. So what does this mean to you as a senior?
It's bittersweet. I personally want to give everything to this team. We want to leave the mark that Kyra Washington left or Jonquel Jones left. So it's just more so just like giving back to the program instead of taking what our personal attributes should be instead of the teams.
Well, thank you so much and good luck in the A10 championships.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Parker. The men's swimming and diving program clinched their second conference title this month with an impressive performance in the Atlantic 10 Championship meet. GW totaled 689 points, which was 147 points better than their nearest competitor. The Colonials won 9 gold medals, 6 silver, and 4 bronze medals, and had 17 individual scores for the week. Additionally, Gustav Hochfeldt was named the meet's most outstanding performer. James Winchester was also named the Co-Men's Swimming Coach of the Year. Overall, this was a dominant outing for the Colonials. Sean, who had the most compelling performances of the meet?
Well, I think you've already mentioned his name, Cole, and that's Gustav Hochfeldt. He won individual gold medals in the 50-yard freestyle, in the 100-yard backstroke, and in the 200-yard backstroke. And along with that, he also had 4 more relay gold medals. So you see him performing well in the individual meets, in the team relay meets. I really don't think you can get more dominant than that as an individual performer. He also helped the Colonials to 4 new A10 records, and he set 4 GW individual program records. Again, really just bringing home the hardware everywhere.
Yeah, and if we're going to talk about an individual event, GW also placed 3 swimmers into the A final of the 100-yard freestyle. It's a high-octane event. It's very competitive, so it was good to see them being in the ranks there.
And then you also had Max Forstenhausler. He placed second in that event with here in the silver medal with a time of 44.36 seconds. And then you've got the group of guys, Gustav Hochfeldt, Alexander Oster, Max Forstenhausler, and Adam Drury. They finished the meet in style with a gold medal in the 400 free relay, and they set a new program record with their time of 2 minutes, 57.11 seconds. And, we talk about how they bested almost every other team in the meet, or every other team in the meet, by nearly 150 points. They also beat their record their score from last year's meet by nearly 100 points as well. So, if you're looking for improvement from year to year, you said that Coach James Winchester was named the co-coach of the year, and when you've got improvement like that, it's really not hard to wonder why.
The men's swimming and diving program now look to have a productive offseason and hopes of returning to the Atlantic 10 Championship next year to three-peat.
Keeping things in the pool now with women's swimming and diving, where the girls capped off a spectacular season with a 3rd place finish at the A10 tournament. This finish held special importance for the women as it marks an improvement from last year when they came in 6th at the same competition. In the meet, the team racked up a total of 13 medals, including the first 3 gold medals of head coach James Winchester's career. Abigail Fusco, Emily Zhang, and Gemma Atherley led GW in the individual events and then teamed up to bring home the gold in the 400-yard freestyle relay to close out the meet. Cole, what were your thoughts on how the women performed?
Well, Sean, they scored a total of 447.5 points, trailing only to Duquesne and Richmond, who scored 567 and 558 points respectively. The Colonials also broke 14 program records and set an A10 record in the 800-yard freestyle relay and produced 11 individual scores. So overall, it was a very successful meet for them.
It was. And you talk about how, you might have wanted to see them in first place. The men's team performed so well, but I think this is also a very strong finish for the women. Again, all the program records they set, the medals they took home. Again, the first 3 of head coach James Winchester's career coaching women's swimming and diving. So again, very successful on both sides, for both men's and women's for him. But in that gold medal freestyle relay at the end of the meet, Fusco, Zhang, and Atherley, they posted a time of 3 minutes and 22 seconds, which shattered a record that they had set last year. And then Fusco and Zhang also picked up the silver and bronze respectively in the 100-yard freestyle. Fusco broke a 7-year program record by posting a time of 49.67 seconds in the event. Now after such a strong performance in this meet, the women will now turn their eyes to the CSCAA National Invitational, where we hope to see more records set.
Currently ranked 18th in the country, women's gymnastics has seen continued success against the best teams on the Eastern Seaboard. In the Jim Quarters Invitational, the Lady Colonials finished 3rd with 195.65 points. This meet was marked by compelling performances on the vault. The Colonials posted a season-high score of 49.25 points in the event. 4 Colonials matched their season highs, with Cammie Drew-Allaire earning a team-high 9.925, Jillian Winstanley scoring a 9.90, Liz Filer posting a 9.875, and Alex Zois finishing with a 9.825. Sydney Krasa and Sarah Mermelstein rounded out the event with matching season-high vault scores of 9.725. The Buff and Blue also had strong finishes on bars and beam. The Colonials will compete in 2 more road meets before returning home to the Charles E. Smith Center. Our very own Matt Kerwin had a chance to sit down and catch up with the gymnasts. Let's take a look.
The GW women's gymnastics team is pumping on all cylinders this 2018 season. Senior and co-captain Sarah Mermelstein had this to say.
We've had a really strong season going thus far. I think we've done a really good job of taking it week by week and not letting the future get a hold of us. And we go in every single week just wanting to do better than the week before. So I think right now that we've done a really good job of staying in and honing in on everything that we've had to do.
Jill Winstanley talks about what the responsibilities are as a senior and captain.
Being a senior is kind of weird because we're on the cusp of not having gymnastics anymore, and gymnastics is different from other sports in that, like, for us after we graduate, there's no future for us in gymnastics. It's just all finding ourselves outside of the sport. So I know for me that makes me a little bit sad to think about, but I'm just trying to take advantage of all the moments I have and all the practices and competitions I have before gymnastics is over with.
Senior captain Cammie Druin-Allaire recounts the best moment thus far in the season.
So far this season, I think our best moment was just this past weekend. We beat Penn State and we got a very high score. And I think everyone kept their cool and was really focused throughout the meet, and that's something we've worked on. So to see it come together was really awesome to watch.
Best of luck to the GW women's gymnastics team on their path to make nationals. For Unstoppable, I'm Matt Kerwin.
Thanks, Matt. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, but when we return, Sean and I will wrap up the rundown.
Great journalism matters because it's critical to a democracy that the public is informed and engaged and involved. And that happens by having credible information. And so the most important thing, whatever the delivery platform, whatever the technology, whatever the business model, is that the information itself is coming in solid and important ways and is being conveyed in compelling ways because there's so much noise and competition out there. And so that's what I really want our students to be able to do, be brilliant storytellers, keen observers, and compelling communicators.
Welcome back. Well, Cole, spring is right around the corner, and you know what that means. It's time for baseball season. While the MLB season doesn't start until the end of March, your GW men's team has already taken the field. Their first three-game series against Florida Atlantic did not go the way the boys had hoped, as they dropped all three matches 3-0, 6-1, and 3-2 respectively. Despite these slow starts, these Colonials should turn things around over the coming weeks. 19 players returned from last year's squad, a team that won 31 games. Some of the star returning players are sophomore Nate Fasanacht, an A10 All-Rookie, and sophomore Elliot Ramo, also an A10 All-Rookie and an ABCA All-East Region second-team player. With such a deep squad behind them, you should expect better performances from the boys to come.
After a winning opening weekend, the Amy S. Harrison Classic hosted by UC Riverside is the next stop for the 3-2 Colonials Sluggers. They picked up wins over Florida A&M, Stetson, and Quinnipiac at the season-opening Diamond 9 Citric Blossom Classic last weekend in Orlando, Florida. Sarah Koslow appeared to be in dominant form, pitching 13 innings while giving up only one run. Additionally, she struck out 9 batters and held opponents to a batting average of .191. GW's power has also been on display. The women have smashed 5 home runs in their last 5 games. Freshman Sierra Lang also started out her season strong, earning an ERA of 4.45 and 8 strikeouts.
Grabbing a racket now and heading out to the courts with the 11th ranked men's squash team as the boys hope to wrap up their regular season with a 14-6 record following a showdown with Cornell. GW has won their last 4 competitions heading into the contest as they beat Georgetown 9-0, Franklin and Marshall 9-0, Drexel 6-3, and Middlebury 9-0. Utter dominance to close out the season. The boys will now focus on bringing home the hardware at the CSA Championships in the coming weeks. Best of luck to them.
The George Washington women's squash team ended the season ranked 14th in the nation. The Colonials won 2 matches but ultimately fell 7-2 to number 13 Virginia in the 13-14 playoff of the Kurtz Cup. A notable performance came from freshman Zofu Yukon, who swept her competition, finishing at the number 1 position on the ladder. Although team competition has come to a close, the Colonials will host the CSA Individual Championships next week. We wish the best of luck to the women Colonials competing in this event.
Cole, I hope you have a 9-iron I can borrow because we're heading out to the course with the men's golf team. Their spring competition has only just gotten underway, and in the Atlantic 10 Match Play Championship, the boys finished 5th out of 8 teams. They started the day with a tough loss against Florida Atlantic. The Owls won the first 3 matches of the day, but GW stormed back behind strong play from Vince Palazzolo and Christian Sitchin. Logan Lowe nearly pulled off the tying victory in his match, but came up just short. The Colonials went on to crush St. Joe's and nearly beat George Mason, but tied that match to finish out the tournament. With a packed spring schedule on tap, the boys will look to continue the momentum from this tournament.
The men's track and field team finished their indoor season strong with speedy and efficient performances in the Atlantic 10 Indoor Championship. Most notably, Colin Wills, Chris Schaefer, Ed Delaverne, and Carter Day won the distance medley relay with a time of 9 minutes and 56 seconds, shattering a program record while setting a new Atlantic 10 record. The men's team earned a total of 3 medals with a pair of gold medal performances, as well as the first individual medals in program history. Colin Wills won gold in the mile, and senior Carter Day also made program history with his gold medal effort in the 3,000-meter race. Congratulations to the men, and we look forward to their outdoor season.
Now for the last team on our rundown, let's take a look at women's track and field. The Lady Colonials wrapped up their indoor season with a strong showing at the A10 Championships. Junior Hallie Brown and senior Lauren Takint both registered top 10 performances in the mile event. Brown finished with a time of 5 minutes and 3.28 seconds, and Takint finished right after with a time of 5 minutes and 3.4 seconds. Brown and Takint, along with teammates Suzanne Danaheim and Brittany Wilkinson, also came in 12th in the 4x800 relay with a time of 9 minutes and 35.79 seconds. The outdoor season is right around the corner, and I'm sure the women are looking to get right back out on the track. We're going to go to a short commercial break now, but when we return, I'll get the chance to sit down with Acting Athletics Director Tanya Vogel. Stay tuned.
Raise high. This isn't just our battle cry. It's our call, our challenge. Because when you are called to Washington, you are called to higher expectations, to a higher standard. We are called here to advance knowledge, to serve society, to change the world. This is the George Washington University, and what we make is history. So stand up, be bold, take risks, press on, push harder, raise high.
The same question in sports always remains. Do individuals actively seek out leadership roles, or do they encounter them naturally and find that the glove fits well? In the case of Tanya Vogel, there wasn't much of an option. The former GW soccer player now finds herself at the helm of the athletics program she once competed in, and that program is hers to lead. Vogel assumed the mantle of acting athletics director back in January after Patrick Nero stepped down. Vogel hopes to lead the program by working together with student athletes in order to take the department to new heights. How she will be able to accomplish that, however, only she can say. Joining me now in the studio, former GW soccer player and current acting athletics director Tanya Vogel. Ms. Vogel, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here, Sean.
Now, jumping right into it, can you describe for me what it was like when you first learned that you would be named the acting athletics director?
Well, you know, I've spent the last 2.5 years working with Patrick Nero, who I feel is one of the leaders in the industry. And so with Patrick's resignation, although I was taken aback, I found, you know what, I have great student athletes, I have excellent coaches, excellent staff, I can do this. And so there's a bit of excitement when I think about leading my former program.
And any other emotions maybe that you were feeling?
You know, Patrick's a friend and a mentor, and the great thing is that he will remain a friend and a mentor. I've talked to him, I would say almost every day, just bouncing ideas off of him, and so there's a comfort knowing that I still have that person.
Now, building off of that, what do you think you learned from Mr. Nero in your time serving under him?
Without question, Patrick has been focused on student athletes and the student athlete experience. You know, I had the chance to coach under Patrick about 6 years ago, and that was something that was very clear from day one, is that our focus as coaches and as staff will be on our student athletes. And so it makes it easy. No matter what you're going through, if your focus is on improving the student-athlete experience as we help them look for ways to raise high, we know we can't go wrong.
Now, what are some of the short-term goals that you have for the program?
You know, in this transition, we have talked to our coaches and our staff about continuing to raise high, and our focus has been always in the classroom, in the community, and in competition. And so as we look for ways to make improvements, we will identify strategies, how to make things better for our students in the classroom, how to improve our engagement, not only with the community at large, but we've started to focus a little bit on the campus community. You know, President LeBlanc has named undergraduate student experience as one of his 5 initiatives, and we feel athletics can be an active participant there. And then, of course, we want to win. None of our student athletes are recruited to have a mediocre experience. We want to win championships, and you know, looking at how we've done this past fall and this winter, we are pleased but not content, and so we will continue to try to raise high in terms of competition. All
right, now we touched on a couple things there that I wanted to dive deeper into. The first of which was student involvement in athletics and students going to athletic competitions. You know, there's been talks that student involvement could be a lot higher and there could be a lot more energy at some of these athletic programs. Have you given any thought to maybe how to bring more students out?
Absolutely, it's on us to meet the students where they're at and figure out how to make our events, how to make our building more accessible. You know, one of the things that I've identified is when I was a student here, that Smith Center was the center of campus activity. We didn't have Lerner Health and Wellness. Since that time, the campus has grown and Lerner is an excellent facility, but we've locked the doors to Smith Center. And we've challenged our staff to figure out ways that we can reopen those doors, whether it's providing meals to students or whether it's opening up Sunday study hall so students can come in and find a community gathering place. But it truly is on me and my staff to figure out ways to meet our students where they are at and then make our events an exciting place to be on a Saturday afternoon or a Wednesday night.
Now, another point you touched on was recruiting. Recruiting is the cornerstone of any successful athletic program. Are you going to change up how recruiting is done here at all?
Great question. I will tell you, I think we have recruited some of the best and brightest. And so as the provost and Lori Kohler look to revamp enrollment management and student experience, we'll be active participants and really identifying what our president, what our provost want in the students that we recruit here. But I think we've done an excellent job. You're right, it's the lifeblood, not just of an athletic department, but of a university. And so we'll work with our campus administration in determining how to best continue that process.
All right, now, one of the things that Mr. Nero said upon his departure was that he wanted fresh and new perspective to be brought into the athletics program. In your first month and a half, have you come across any of these new perspectives that you want to put into practice early?
One of the things that we've done is we've started an all-staff meeting. And I know it sounds simple, but we've got tremendous people in our department, and being able to communicate with them, but more than that, listening to them, because there are great ideas that those individuals have. So that's a way that I've started to listen to new perspectives. Another thing that you may realize, you know, I left for 3 years, and so I was exposed to a lot when I was out at Northern Arizona University. I was exposed to different leadership. We actually had 2 presidents while I was there, so I've gone through a presidential transition previously. And I was able to network very well. And so the perspectives that I bring will be those that fit best with GW Athletics and with George Washington University. But again, I think we're learning a lot from the people that are already here.
Now finally, one last question. Have you given any thought to your long-term future here at GW?
Sure. Everybody knows this. I'm a lifelong GWer. I've got 3 degrees from this place. I've spent the better part of my career here. I am ambitious and I want to be an athletics director, and I can think of no better place for me to do that. If it works out, excellent. If not, I'll continue to be loyal to GW.
Thank you very much for joining us, Ms. Vogel, and stay tuned because after a quick commercial break, our own executive producer, Andy Weber, is going to join me here at the desk to let you know what sporting events you should have on your radar in the coming weeks.
Welcome back. Executive producer Andy Weber joins us at the desk to let you know what games you should look out for in the coming weeks. Andy?
Good to have you back, Cole. We begin with men's basketball, who will play their final home game before the A-10 tournament on Wednesday, February 28th at the Smith Center. Tip-off against Fordham is scheduled for 7 p.m. Check GWTV's Facebook page for our live coverage of the game. On Tuesday, February 27th, baseball will host their first game at Barcroft for the 2018 season when they face off against those yappy little pups from Georgetown at 2:30 p.m. The Colonials return to Barcroft 24 hours later to play UMES. On Friday, March 2nd, women's tennis will match up against Richmond at the Vern Tennis Courts at 1 p.m. Finally, on Sunday, March 4th, gymnastics will host the Girl Scout meet at 1 p.m. Guys?
Thanks, Andy. Unfortunately, that's all the time we've got for today, but as always, keep a lookout for the next show and our live coverage of GW men's basketball as they head to the postseason.
Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you next time.